Hey guys, so this is our WS wash light that we like from FX Luminaire. Where these are really good, it's a great uplight with a much wider angle and softer lens. So it's really good for any small shrubs and plants that you see in front of me, any low textured architectural features of your house, statues, shrubs, anything that's smaller that doesn't require as intensive a light, that's where you want to go and use a wash light.
Hey, Jordan, thanks for taking the time to send in the pics and the detailed pics, the nighttime pictures. Definitely help. I'll give you some suggestions, regardless whether you have those lights in here or not, because typically most people don't leave those porch lights on all the time, and you've got a perfect house to, as you said, make things pop. So I'll give you some really good examples and some things that you can do. And really, it's going to be pretty straightforward, and I don't think you have to break the budget, but I would focus mainly on using accent lights. I probably wouldn't do a whole lot of path lighting. Depending on what your budget is, you're going to get way more bang for your buck with these. But if you wanted to sprinkle some of these in, I'll kind of explain how you can do that pretty cost effectively. And then the only other light that I might add in one or two areas is these guys here, and then some other accessories and stuff. But I'll kind of explain what I would do is I would use those accent lights. So just these guys here, and I would use those to make that front of the house pop here. So where I would put that is I would probably put that right under this window, not too far back. You only want it about 18, 24 inches back, but you really just want it shining up so it highlights this area. Then I would have one on the corners of this shutter here, right in the middle, and also on this side. So it does a really nice job of balancing, having some balanced light across this whole front section. And the other thing I would do, no question, I would light these pillars, even with the lights that you have inside there, again, because those are super bright. This is going to be a very low intensity light, and I'll show you some examples of why I like lighting those pillars. But a real good example is like this, and I'm also going to talk to you about the second story lighting a little bit on your property. But especially because you have the nice white house, that's why I don't think you need to use a lot of path lights. Whenever you have a lighter color, you always get a lot of reflective light off of it, so you don't need to add a whole bunch of extra light. But you can see how lighting those pillars really makes them stand out. And the other thing is that light hits the top here, and then it kind of creates like this lit archway that makes the whole porch and entryway really, really inviting. And that's why I love doing that on those archways like that. So I would definitely do that on all four of those. The only thing I would suggest is on the two that you have here, I would put something in there called a hex baffle. So all it is this little honeycomb shaped filter, and what it does is now it just fits underneath the glass here, and it helps deflect the glare. So if you're building a kit, we can always customize one for you, but you do have the option to add a hex baffle to it, and basically it fits underneath the lens here and over top of the bulb, and it just makes sure that as you're walking up and down those stairs that light doesn't kind of peripheral shine in your eye. It just helps deflect that glare. So especially on those two close to the walkway, I would definitely put those up there and light all four of these pillars. It can be fairly close to the house and have them kind of shining straight up, and that's where I think you don't need to add a whole ton more path lights if you do that. But if you were to add some path lights, you just want to sprinkle them in between where you have the accent light. So for example, if you had an accent light here and here, probably only need a path light here, and maybe you might throw one on the corner here. And same thing, you might just throw one here, you might throw one kind of over here, and then you've kind of got this lit here, here, and here. So maybe you throw two kind of in front of the windows, and then another one somewhere over here where you don't have an accent light. But like I said, I don't think you're going to need to, because I think you're really going to be able to make the house pop just from the accent lights. Then the other thing I want to talk about is these second story dormers, or whatever you want to call them, is actually mounting lights up there. And we actually use these gutter mounts that fit right in the gutter. Nice thing is all the connections are waterproof, so you can run everything right in the gutter, right in the eaves trough. You basically just run the wire actually up inside the eaves trough, and then you mount those with the gutter mount and highlight these two second story windows to get that kind of effect. And it's a little bit different scenario on this one, but it kind of shows you how it really makes it stand out as opposed to having a big dark spot. And that's how you really make your house pop when it comes to landscape lighting. question I get all the time when we do that is, well, is that going to be too bright in the window? And it's not a 100-watt bulb. It's not a really bright bulb. It's a nice ambient light that just helps light up this second tier. So you mount that here, have it shining kind of at these second peaks, and then you would have a really nice balanced light across the front. The only other thing you may want to do is in this corner here, this is obviously going to become a dark corner. So depending whether you want to keep going with some path lights, a few of those just to balance it out. Something I like doing in an area like this, and another example is just kind of using some of the smaller plants that you have and getting a light behind them and have them shine through. So it kind of creates a shadow on what is kind of a boring wall. But if you were to get a light kind of in front of one of these shrubs, or you have a unique one that you're planting, sometimes we just put like one of those tall grasses, which is really cool because it shines through there. And then that grass that might only be this high, when you get a light shining through it, the shadow on the back is like this high and it moves in the wind. So you get this really, really cool effect. So I would try and do something like that in this area. If you don't want it to be too bright or too intense, that's where I might use just a wash light, which is very similar to an accent light. It's not as bright. It's a softer light. It's good for a really dark area like that, especially on any kind of low-lying shrub. So I might just add one of those to my shopping cart. And then lastly, I did want to point out something that I think could be really cool is actually accenting some of these tall giant trees with an accent light, but put in a really high intensity beam in these. So these all come with a standard, what we call a 20-watt equivalent lamp, which is a 4 LED. And we have the option to upgrade those to a brighter 35-watt equivalent or a 50-watt equivalent. On those trees, I would upgrade that to a 50-watt equivalent LED lamp. And what I would do is I would light like this guy, I would probably light this guy, and I would probably try and light these two back here, as well as this guy here. Because what's cool now is at night, and I thought I saw a really good picture of it, but at night now, as you're looking at the house and you have the front of the house lit up, then you've got these towering trees in the back. You got maybe 4 or 5 of them that the canopies are lit up, and it's something you really get to enjoy from the front of the house and from the street, and it just makes everything look, I don't know what the word is, not gigantic, but it it makes it pop. Let's leave it at that. So hopefully that gives you some good ideas. If you want me to customize a kit for you, I definitely can. If you want to kind of go play around with those suggestions and put together some lights, you can definitely do that. Just add stuff to your shopping cart and kind of make the adjustments. Something I would probably recommend is if you are going to do something like that, you probably want to start with like a base kit. So if you're going to be buying more than 8 accent lights just to help save you some money, I would probably start with a kit like this. This transformer is plenty big to add on, but this is going to be better value than going and adding individual lights to your shopping cart. But then you get that to start, and then you just go add the extra few that I talked about. So you might add a couple more of these to your shopping cart to get some of those areas. You can go add the you can go add the gutter mounts for those second story ones, and then if you want to put those tall trees in the picture, you can go and add, say 5 of those and just upgrade it to the lamp. But if you need help with that, we do custom kits all the time too, so we can definitely help you with that. And if there's anything else you can think of that I missed, please just fire me an email back.
Okay guys, so here we have our Uplight. Like I said earlier, by far the most popular light, the light that you're going to use the most in most of your landscape lighting projects. But if you'll notice here, it's not just for trees. It's a great light to use if you're trying to uplight a tree. And some quick tips about that is, same as when you're doing a house, you don't want to have it far back pointing at the tree. You're almost always better off having it more upright like this, underneath the base of a tree, than pointing at the tree. It creates a much more natural effect, a much softer light. So that's a good rule of thumb. There's different wattages. The reason I like these uplights, in particular these ones, you can get them with something called integrated fixtures, where it basically has like an LED board built right into the light. The only problem with that is that if you've never done landscape lighting before and you buy the wrong light and it doesn't give you enough light or too much light, well, you can't go and just switch out that board, or in some cases you can, but it's a lot of work. Whereas this, we just have an LED bulb that we can go and switch out, so that down the road in 5-10 years when that burns out, we can easily just go and replace that with any other LED MR16 bulb, so I like that. Plus, if you're new to the doing landscape lighting and you don't know which bulb to use, well, if you put in a bulb that's not bright enough, well, then you can always just go and change it for a brighter bulb. Same thing, as your landscape grows, and as your trees grow, sometimes you might want to put a brighter bulb in there. This easily allows you to do that with this light. So that's why I love using this uplight, but it doesn't just have to be on trees. It can be on architectural features of the house like this. We got some nice stone columns that we're gonna really be killing two birds with one stone here. We're gonna gently uplight this so it brings out all the little subtleties in the rock. But then what's gonna happen too is that light is gonna make it up to that top soffit, and it's gonna kind of create a nice glow that's actually gonna give us some porch lighting too. Even though we have porch lights here, they're very bright, whereas this is gonna give us a nice subtle glow, and this is more gonna give us the effect from the street and from the curb appeal with just some functional lighting up top. So again, why I really like this light. The one thing we are gonna do with this one, because it's close to a porch, an area we're gonna be walking by, is we're gonna use something called a hex baffle. All a hex baffle is this little aluminum shield that basically just goes over top of the bulb. So if you take this off, throw that underneath the glass, and then pop that back on, what that's gonna do is it's gonna soften the light a little bit, but more importantly, it's gonna deflect any of that side glare. So as you're walking around and by that light, less of that light is gonna hit your eye, and it's gonna be more concentrated on the nice columns that we have here. So that's something you wanna use anytime you're kind of lighting the entryway of your house or by a walkway or something like that. Hex baffle is a really good tool to have. And the last thing I'll mention about this uplight, when you are lighting some trees, a good rule of thumb, if you're using a 4-watt LED lamp that puts out about 250 lumens, great for trees that are 8 to roughly 15 to 20 feet high. I would say from about 25 to 35 feet, you want to use a slightly brighter bulb, closer to a 5-watt LED bulb. And then when you get into some really big trees that are over that 35-foot mark, you probably want to go and start looking at a 6-watt LED bulb so that you can really push that light into the canopy. But that's why you're going to use this light for 70 to 80% of the places in your yard, because it's such a versatile light. It does so many things, and that's the reason that we use so many of these year after year. So before you start any project, if you've never done landscape lighting before, it might be tough to know exactly where to put the lights. That's one of the reasons we offer our free consultation, because we can kind of give you a good idea, but it's still a really good idea if you haven't had a chance yet. Go to lightingdoctor.ca and go check out our try it before you buy it lights, where basically you can get one of our fixtures and they come with these battery packs. Now, it used to look a little bit different, but the concept's the same. It's a little battery pack, takes 8 AA batteries, and it has a couple alligator clips that you can actually go and test this light out now. So basically all we're gonna do is we're gonna take the two ends of our wire, make sure they're split so that they're not touching, and then we're just gonna go and connect our alligator clips to those wires, and all of a sudden we have a functioning landscape light that now we can go and we can test out on the different features of our home to see how it's going to go look. And if you go do this at night, it'll give you a real good sense and a real good idea for where you're going to position that light, and it'll help reaffirm some of the things that we talk about, where if you point it more at the house, it's going to create a much brighter, more of a hot spot, whereas if you can get it closer and shining more upright, it's just going to nicely graze that house. So you want to go and play with this before you go make anything permanent. It's a great tool, it's easy to use, and it'll allow you to make sure you're getting the right amount of lights and putting them in the right spot before you go commit to a huge project. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. I hope you guys got some great do-it-yourself landscape lighting tips. Now, please be sure to go to our website at lightingdoctor.ca and check out our how-to page. It's full of great resources, from our podcast to our video to our most frequently asked questions. And also check out our try it before you buy it light, where you can actually go now and get one of our premium quality uplights and a King Innovation Insta-Light, which is basically a battery pack now that allows you to go and run those lights and test them out on your property. Try it for 14 days. If you don't love it, send it back to us and we'll give you a full refund. And if not, you keep the light at a discounted rate and go and buy what you need for your project. So thanks again for watching. Please be sure to leave us a comment. We love your feedback. Have a great day.